So, there is so much about this discussion that we're beginning right now that is really dear to my heart, but also something I've lived for a number of years. And Mark's going to talk a little bit of pieces about his book, and so that's the opening thought, is he's going to do that. But what I know about that book was I lived it. I lived what's in that book with him. He lived it his own way, but I lived it right alongside of him. And so we both learned a number of skills that I don't think we would have had if we hadn't had that opportunity. And now it has become an opportunity because all the difficulties that we're dealing with COVID and other problems that are unrest and all this stuff that's fomenting, I think that it's helped us so that we can say, oh, we understand why people are having these difficulties. And we also have some ways to help them kind of move past that and move into their better self. And, see if they can find the place where they feel like they're in charge instead of it's in charge of them. So instead of it happening to you, you are in charge of what takes place. So here we are, and I'm going to introduce Mark. This is Mark. I'm Cynthia.
Hi.
And Mark had an amazing journey, and his journey took him through and in and out of depression. And I don't know how many years he was dealing with it. I don't know if he could tell you a time when it flipped over and he suddenly knew he was dealing with depression. Maybe he does. I guess we haven't really thought
many
about
years.
it.
It wasn't overnight.
Yeah. So, but so the question is, once you're trying to change things or make a difference in your own life, the question is, how do you know you're on the right path for you? I mean, there are so many voices out there, and there's so many things that people suggest, and you're supposed to do this and this and this, and it just seems like layers and layers and layers. We're going to try to peel that back tonight and start you at a beginning point, and then help you move from there through another point and another point and another point. And if you're here for only essential oils, we'll start doing a separate essential oils class. We'll be talking about essential oils along with this, but this is going to be specifically on how you can change your inner mindset. So I'm going to turn it over to Mark, and he's going to give you the what's for.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Cynthia. So what a crazy year, huh? It's been really, really a shocker surprise for me. If you would have asked me 9 months ago if we'd be doing what we're doing as far as COVID and masks and economy and everything else, it would have been a total surprise to me. But it's getting more and more difficult, I think, especially if you rely on the news, to find those happy stories. There's not a lot of positive that at least is being promoted right now. And a lot of people are going through some really tough times. And it's causing a lot of people to step back and say, gee, what happened to my goals and my dreams, especially for this year, what I was hoping to accomplish and hoping to have happen. And other people are also saying, gosh, I just feel so run down. I don't have my energy. I don't have my zip anymore. And so we're all dealing with challenges, just a lot of challenges, trying to find that happy story somewhere. So tonight we wanted to talk about what we're calling the best kept secret. And the best kept secret, as we will talk about a little bit tonight, is finding within you the answers to those questions of how can I find that happy place, that happy story? How can I find that meaning and that direction in my life again? We call it the best kept secret because it is right within us, and it's simple, but it's you have to know where to look, and hopefully we'll be able to help find that tonight. So let me start with a story. A good friend of mine who loves the mountains. He rides his horse up in the mountains frequently. He's a psychologist, actually, and he got to a point in life. Some people call it the midlife. Not the midlife crisis always, but the midlife time anyway. And he was kind of thinking things through and where am I going with my life at this point, and got on his horse and rode way up in the mountains and found a really quiet spot all alone, was sitting there listening to the wind whistle through the pines, and he had this thought. So who am I? Who am I? And he said immediately this thought came to his mind: you are what you choose. And he thought, wow, that is really interesting. I am what I choose. So I am what I choose, and I choose what I am. And he thought about that a bit, and he thought, okay, that I can see that. Yeah, the choices I make determine who I am and what I become in life and what happens. But is it really that simple? Is it just as simple as I choose something and that's what I am? Voila, just magic. Is it really that simple? The answer is yes, it is that simple, and no, it's not that simple. We choose our story in life. What we become in life and what we end up with in life is our story. And that is the culmination of thousands and thousands of choices that we make that shape our lives and our story and what we enjoy in life and what we ultimately become. So yes, it is as simple as I choose what I am and I am what I choose, but it's not totally that simple. And one of the things that impacts that is people say, well, I didn't choose this part of my life. I don't even like my story, or I don't even like this part of my story. And I didn't choose this. It just happened to me, or someone else chose this and it impacted me, or something in the environment happened, or something in the economy happened, or my family, or whatever. So there are these things that happen to us that we don't choose. So how can we say that this is my choice, that what happened to me is my choice? So it's true that we can't always choose what happens to us, but we can always choose what we decide to do with that experience. And that's where we continue to have the choice. So bad things happen, challenges happen, things out of the blue happen, things that we don't plan on happen. But we always have the choice as to what we're going to do with that and how we decide to let it shape our lives and our futures. Other people and other things ultimately are not who I am. And I hear people all the time say, well, that's the way my family is, or that's the way I was raised, or that's the way that I turned out because of XYZ. But that's ultimately not who we are. That's what happened to us. And then we make a choice as to what we're going to do with that and how we're going to allow that to shape our lives.
And I'm just going to say, you're better than that. You're better than
Yeah,
whatever it was that your story is. You are better than that.
So here's another really interesting thing, and listen to language, because language is very revealing. And I work with professionals who work with people who are dealing with addiction, or people who are dealing with suicidal thoughts and those kinds of things. And particularly when you're working with somebody who's dealing with an addiction, one of the very first things that we recommend is that they change their language, because a lot of times they will say, I have an addiction, or I'm an addict, or I'm addicted to. And if you listen to that language very carefully, that's actually defining who you are. If you say I have or I am, then you own it. You own it. You're saying that's who I am and that's how I define myself. And so that, again, it's a choice. And if we say I am sick, I have cancer, I have whatever it is that I'm dealing with, it's very, very subtle, but it's very powerful, because if we say it, then we own it. And that goes very deep into our psyche, into our bodies, into our souls, and we own it. And that's what we become because we've chosen that direction. So listen to your language and listen to other people's language. And I always find it interesting when people say, I have such and such, and I say, oh, you're dealing with, and they kind of look at me like, well, yeah, but what's the difference? And it sounds very small, but it's a major difference. The other thing that I hear people say is, well, this is just how I am. You know, I didn't choose this. It's the way I was born. It's my genes. It's just who I am and how I am. And that's my story. That's why I've turned out the way I have. And again, it's really, really interesting. I get so excited about some of this new research that's coming out. And if you watched some of the doTERRA convention, they had a whole class on this, a whole presentation about this new area of genetic research called epigenetics. And what they're finding is that, yes, you do have a DNA sequence that is you, but that can be it can be expressed in different ways, is the way that they're talking about it now, meaning that isn't predetermined that you have to be that certain way. Those genes can be expressed in different ways, and you can actually be different than what your genes
isn't that amazing? I think it's just really amazing that, you know, we think that, okay, these are my genes and this is my genetic path, and so this is the path that I'm going to go on, and this is where I'm going to end up. But what they're saying now is, okay, those are your genes, but you can alter how those genes interact with each other and still come out in a completely different pathway than you thought you were headed.
It's amazing.
It's awesome.
And you can then pass that on to the next generation too. It's incredible. That's incredible. You can actually change your gene expression. So things that happen to me are not who I am. It isn't predetermined that because you were raised in a certain environment or with a certain family or whatever else, that is who you are and what you are predetermined to be. It heavily influences it, yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you are destined to be. And other people and things are not who I am either. I hear a lot of people talk about, I am this, or I have this much money, or I am my house or my car or whatever else. And there are a lot of other ways that we can define ourselves. But as I said, if you say it, you own it. I am, I have, or I am. Listen very carefully to your language. Okay, here's a quiz. Should be a very easy one. Complete this sentence. You are what you...
Everybody's going to say eat.
Everybody's going to say eat, probably, right? That's what most people say. We're going to take a little bit of a twist on that, and we're going to say you are what you eat, meaning what you digest, what you ingest, but also what you absorb through your body, what you breathe. All of those things are kind of what you eat, what you take into your body. So Cynthia's going to talk to us a little bit about how important it is to have the support of what you eat and what you ingest and take into your body to support this journey.
Okay, thank you. So, you know, I think that we've heard it a lot about what happens in our minds, and I think Mark's going to talk a little bit more about it, aren't you? Yeah. Okay, but what we have is an opportunity for those epigenetic moments to be altered. And one of the best ways to do it is to use essential oils. I can't say this enough times, but you can use these to help your body encourage itself into different ways, because they become great disruptors. Just by smelling, it changes what happens in your brain immediately, because it goes to the amygdala, and suddenly your brain is in a different brain set, just like that, literally. I mean, open, cheer. If that were oregano, I'd probably be going, oh, mamma mia, pizza. But just the same, I can have that immediate response. Just today, I had some helichrysum on my hands, and I was like, where am I? And I remembered I was right before my daughter's wedding and my tooth had broken and I had grabbed helichrysum because I had it with me and I stuck it on my tooth. But you never know what's going to happen, right? That'll bring up that memory. Damn, it was right with me. So we're changing the direction and the patterns just by disrupting. So why is adaptive so important about that? Because it's going to help you alter those things that are going on in your mind. It's going to become a change agent. So it'll help you in this pattern. Once you've decided, you know what, I am what I want to be, or I am just because I choose, right? So whatever it is, this is going to help you stay on that path. This is going to help you so that you can maintain where you want to be, because it will be easy to get pulled back into those other areas. And Mark's going to talk about some ways that you can maintain a new path that once you've chosen it. Now, these are really important points, and he's learned it over many years dealing with life coaches and psychologists and a number of people. And they've all come to the same conclusions, which are very simple, but they're very difficult, like he said. But one of the simple things you can do is use this, right? You use this for a disruptor, and then it'll help your mind to clear and your body to calm. And then you're going to be in charge of you, and you're going to be able to do those epigenetic changes. You'll be able to change the way you eat because you'll be taking peppermints, which helps, and cinnamon that'll kind of like help you so you don't feel like you're hungry all the time. Instead, you'll feel more energetic and more able and more calm. So it's awesome.
So thank you, Cynthia. And just one, I want to put in a personal plug here because some of these are included in the adaptive blend, but wild orange is my personal favorite. I use wild orange a lot, and cheer is another one of my favorites.
Wild orange is always going on in his
yeah, it's
office.
always going on.
And
Arbor Vitae is another one of my favorites. And what I discovered was when I discovered that I was in this pattern of depression, and it is a pattern, it becomes ingrained, and you create those neural pathways, that it's very easy to just fall back into it, and your mood gets depressed, and it's just much harder to work through it.
Kick you back out.
And so I just find these are so helpful. I diffuse wild orange a lot. I use adaptive. I use these others, and it just kicks me out and keeps me in a place, supports my journey. It helps me get to where I need to go.
That's sweet.
The other thing that we talk about all the time, besides drinking water, you drink a lot of water.
Here's my water with lemon in it.
I always talk about lifelong vitality because it's so fundamental. I call it the foundation.
It is.
And it is that foundation, that starting point that just elevates you to a point where you can have that solid, everyday vitality and energy that you need.
Exactly.
And clarity.
Sure.
And again, I notice when I skip it one day, I notice it immediately.
Absolutely.
Okay, second question. We said you are what you eat, but you also are something else. So you are what you
read. I mean, she's reading.
She's reading. Good. That's a great guess. That's a really good guess. You are what you practice. She's practicing reading, and we practice from the time we're very young until we die. We are creating neural pathways, and the choice, we make a choice, and then we practice something over and over again, and it becomes a pathway in our minds. So here's an interesting fact. Experts estimate that we have somewhere between, on a slow day, about 12,000, but on an average day, 60,000 thoughts per day. Okay,
I guess it'd be a really slow day. You must be on the beach, just looking at the ocean.
Looking chilling out. Here's the crazy thing: 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts. That's astounding. That just blows my mind.
Yeah,
so if we just go with the flow, with what our as human beings, what we normally do through a day, 60,000 thoughts, 80% of those are negative. What do you think? What kind of pathways are we creating in our minds? We're having all of these thoughts about, oh, I'm so stupid. Oh, why didn't I? And I'm so fat. And look at me, I'm getting so slow. And I mean, all of those things that are creating who we are. We're choosing to allow our minds to go there rather than making the choice to to turn our minds in a different way.
Yeah.
So earlier we said, well, some people say, you know what, I don't really like my story. I don't like this part of my story. Well, guess what? You can choose a new story.
Yeah, you can make one up today.
You can make up a whole new story.
You can make up a whole new story about your life, and you can go through all of your life and pick out, you can cherry pick. You can just cherry pick and then say, oh, that was my life. That was my life.
And your neural pathways are going to try to pull you back, and your normal,
when you grab these.
And your normal physiology is going to try to pull you back to where you've always been. But if you have ways of kicking yourself up and out, and if you have ways of managing those thoughts to positive thoughts, so here's some things that you can do. We talk a lot in the work that I do with people about vision boards. If you haven't done vision boards, check it out. It's very powerful, but that's getting a very clear vision.
Draw it on your wall, wherever you need to put it, so that you see that new person that you are, not the one you want to become, but the one that you are, because you've already said, oh, I'm this other person.
Yes.
And then you put that one up on your wall. It's awesome.
It's your new story. It gives you a very strong visual and something positive to combat all those negative ideas that are going to come in. Another thing we talk about, declarations. Some people call them affirmations, but actually speaking about that goal, that vision that you have for the new story that you want to write. And then looking at, okay, that's the vision, this is what I want, how can I get there? Then some very specific steps to get you there. It's not just magic, it doesn't just change overnight. But if you have some specific action steps and ways of getting to where you want to go, then it will help you get there.
And each one of these are going to help, right? Each of these are going to be a little piece in the puzzle to change that mind and that gene expression and alter the pathways in your brain.
Right. And then we talked about oils and supplements and diet and water. Those are all the pieces that you can bring to bear to keep that vision, that new you, that new story heading in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So here is an invitation. I invite you to find your own, he called it the Black Pines area where my friend went. Find your own place. Go find a quiet place where you can sit and meditate for a while and just ask yourself, who was I born to be? And what was I born to do? And then just listen. It'll be different for everybody.
Take a good oil with you.
Yeah, get some good oils going.
The pines are pretty good.
The pines are, you got some good pines. And then just listen, and don't think about, oh, well, my mom wanted me to do this, or I should do that, or I ought to do that. Just ask those questions and then listen, and write down what comes to your mind, because that will be close to who you really are, and what your finest self is, and what your capability really is.
And it's so empowering. It's so empowering to do that.
Absolutely. So a number of years ago, there was a movie that came out. Will Smith starred in this movie that had a huge, deep impact on me, about a man named Chris Gardner. It's a true story. And he was a salesman in San Francisco. His sales, the product that he was trying to sell just tanked. His wife left him. He had one small boy, and he ended up on the street, literally living on the street, in bathrooms, in the subway, as a homeless guy with no place to go. And but he decided that he wanted something better. And when he was walking on the streets, he saw these guys coming out of office buildings, getting into luxury cars. And he said, I want to be like one of those guys. So he actually stopped one of them one time and asked them, how do I become what you are? And the guy was like, this homeless guy is approaching him. But he was so persistent, and he had that vision in his mind, that he eventually figured out a way to become a stockbroker.
That's awesome.
And anywhere along the line, he could have said, oh, I'm homeless, or I'm a loser, I'm a horrible dad, I'm a lousy salesman, what he could have defined his life and himself by any of those things that happened to him. And yet he had a vision for what he could become, and he had a determination to choose to rewrite his story. He didn't choose to stay in the story he was in. He chose, and he became an extremely wealthy and successful stockbroker in San Francisco. So invitation is find a quiet place, ask yourself the question, who am I? What was I born to do? What was I born to be? And then choose your story. Choose a story you love. Choose a story that excites you, and don't give up on it. You can choose, and it's not going to happen overnight, but with some of these techniques that we shared, by having a strong vision of what it is, by talking about it, by supporting yourself with great products and nutrition and sleep and water and exercise, those things are going to help rewire your brain, kick in those epigenetics, and actually change your life and change your being to the story that you want and that you love.
Awesome. Okay, I got to stick in a real plug,
Okay,
real
go for
fast.
it.
So next month, starting October 1st, there will be a line of product you can purchase for 3 months that is for mood. And so you'll be able to do that, and it comes in a cute little packet, and it has the adaptive for the first month, and the next month it has the wild orange in it, which is cool. So every month it has a couple of oils in it, plus it has some other product that you'll be using to help you to do the things that we're talking about, to change that mood, to make you so that you're in a place where you can actually say yes to yourself and empower yourself. And we hope that you'll take that opportunity to do that. And then we also hope that you'll take an opportunity to do this, and that is read the book, listen to the book, learn about this. You can get it on Amazon, and give yourself a chance that you probably haven't had before.
Right.
And that is the opportunity to accept your real self, your best self, your most empowered self. And Mark likes to call it your finest self, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, and the person that you really are, the person that probably, when you look in the mirror, you might look at the funhouse mirror, but you're much more than that. You're much more than that. And we hope you feel that way here, because we feel that way about you. We think you're awesome. And we hope to see you again next week. And we'll be starting a second class, not today, but we'll be starting doing a separate oil class that we call it secondary education. You have primary education. It's the first ones that you use. We talked about that already. And now we're going to talk about how to use the secondary group next in our presentations as well. But we'll still be doing this. We'll be doing these mood classes and these emotion classes over the next few weeks. We'll just see how long they take. And we hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and that this doesn't throw you into, some catatonic tailspin and you're like, oh no, what did I just learn about me? I didn't really want to look at that. But that you'll actually find yourself happy to know that you can make change, that you can do it for you. And that no matter what your situation, you can find the joy in the life that you have.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us.
And we hope to see you next week. We're going to turn off the recording now, and then we'll take some questions. Recording.